the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Institute of Thaistudies,ฬาลงกรณ์ University. Here with us today are two distinguished scholars, Dr. Juan González Garcia, Faculty of Economics, University of Colima, and Dr. Juan Jose Ramirez Bonilla from the Center for Asian and African Studies, College of Mexico. Also, this lecture enjoys the honorable presence of His Excellency, Mr. Luis Arturo Conte Ortega, Ambassador of the United Mexican States to Thailand. Before we start, may I first invite Associate Professor Sujitra Dongsukitvachana, Director of Institute of Thai Studies, Chulalongkorn University, to deliver a report. Dr. Sujitra, please.
Excellency, Vice President of Chulalongkorn University, distinguished scholar, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. The Institute of Thai Studies, Chulalongkorn University is much honored to have a part in these special lectures by two distinguished scholars from Mexico today. This event is co-hosted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Royal Thai Embassy in Mexico. We also gain a kind cooperation from Faculty of Arts and Faculty of Economics, Chulalongkorn University. These two distinguished scholars, Dr. Juan González Garcia and Dr. Juan Jose Ramirez Bonilla, are academic ambassadors who are visiting Thailand with the goal of gaining insight and understanding of our country, and in turn to make us here learn more about Mexico and Latin America. The mutual benefit from this cooperation will not be limited to the academic world alone, but expand to the peoples of the two regions. The Institute of Thai Studies, Chulalongkorn University, is much privileged to have this opportunity to create and initiate a deeper interest in Thailand and Thai studies in Mexico and other Latin American countries. As the world seems to be smaller through advanced technology, the people, history, and culture of each region will become more accessible to all. These advancements would be a source of wisdom that helps all humanity to realize the essence of their singularity and uniqueness. From this point of view, Thai studies and Latin American studies do share the same task of imagining the people for peace and prosperity. It is certain that even today will be the beginning of prosperous and closer relation between two regions. Thank you.
Professors, may I now invite Associate Professor Dr. Siddhichai Taksi, Vice President of Chulalongkorn University, to deliver his welcome remarks.
Excellency, distinguished scholars, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Chulalongkorn University, I am very proud, honored to welcome you here and this afternoon to this special lecture on Thai-Mexican relations, hosted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Royal Thai Embassy in Mexico, and the Institute of Thai Studies, Chulalongkorn University. As the oldest university in Thailand, Chulalongkorn University has been proudly serving as the pillar of the kingdom for generations. Even today is another occasion for this delightful task. It is hoped that by creating this academic platform for our distinguished scholars to share their experience, the deeper understanding will be enhanced and mutually fruitful relations will follow in the very near future. Let us hope that this auspicious start of an attempt to expand greater understanding amongst international scholars will be a solid foundation for a better and happier globalized world for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. May I now invite His Excellency Mr. Luis Arturo Ponte Ortega, Ambassador of the United Mexican States to Thailand, to deliver the special remarks on this occasion.
Morning. Buenos días. I'm really delighted to be once again at Chulalongkorn University. We have established a relation since I got here 3 years ago. I normally attend conferences at this university. It's always a privilege to be back to this university. I want to thank everybody for being here today. I'm really surprised to see a lot of people here, some friends, some colleagues from different embassies who are present here. And that shows only the interest that this type of conference provokes the public, the students, and in the academia. I want to thank Chulalongkorn University for this effort, the Royal Thai Embassy in Mexico, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Thailand for this effort. I think this kind of effort is what we need to know each other better, to know the opportunities we have, to see what we can do together, to try to put these two regions of the world that are today the most important, I would say, in the sense of growing opportunities. Southeast Asia and Latin America are two regions that are growing fast, and we need to work together. This opportunity to having two scholars from Mexico today here who are well known and renowned in Mexico is a privilege. I want to welcome Dr. Juan González Garcia from the University of Colima, which is a university that has a tradition of having a good relation with Thailand. I know there's an agreement between Chulalongkorn and the University of Colima, and we need to follow up this. We need to give it more substance. I also want to welcome Dr. Juan José Ramírez Bonilla from Colegio de Mexico, one of the most renowned institutions in Mexico, and I'm sure you will enjoy the presentations they have prepared for you. As embassy, as ambassador of Mexico here, I'm really proud to have these two scholars here, and this now reiterates the importance of the relation of Mexico and Thailand. I've been working in this area, trying to fortify, trying to renew, trying to increase the relation between Mexico and Thailand, and believe me, it's a very tough job. But with the kind of support that we're receiving also from the Thai government, particularly with the embassy of Thailand and Mexico, with this new effort, with this new ambassador, I don't want to say who else didn't do it, but it's a continuous effort to enhance this relation. So please enjoy this conference. I'm sure they have a lot of things to say about the relation between Mexico and Thailand, and I'm sure this will be helpful for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. May I now invite Mr. Warawut Mongkapapan, Director of Latin American Division, Department of American and South Pacific Affairs, to deliver opening remarks.
Ambassador, Vice President of Chulalongkorn University, Excellencies, friends and colleagues, good afternoon. It is my pleasure and honor to meet you all here today at this prominent venue of Chulalongkorn University. Before we start today's lecture on Thai-Mexican relations, let me introduce you briefly on the activities of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in its efforts to strengthen relations with Mexico, especially at the people level. This special lecture is a part of the Department of American South Pacific Affairs initiatives at the United Nations, World Trade Organization, the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, and the Forum for East Asia and Latin American Cooperation. Our warm partnership and fruitful relations have grown to include humanitarian actions. Our goal terms of trade, Mexico is one of Thailand's top trading partners in Latin America. Last year, the trade volume increased sharply by 45%, with the value beyond $1.3 billion. The Thai government placed Mexico among our 13 priority countries to our foreign direct investment promotion in agricultural sector, textiles, automobile parts, construction, and service sectors. Thailand and Mexico have many things in common. Apart from being one of the fastest growing economies and leading tourist hubs of its own regions, both countries also boast long tradition in the arts, renowned cuisine and culture. We also have played a leading role in the region and share similar policy outlook in many areas, especially in reduction of greenhouse gas emission, where Mexico has shown great leadership in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change held in Cancun last year. Distinguished participants, in collaboration with the Royal Thai Embassy in Mexico, I'm pleased to have with us today two distinguished scholars, Dr. Juan Gonzalez Garcia from the University of Colima and Dr. Juan Jose Ramirez Bonilla from the College of Mexico. Dr. Juan Gonzalez Garcia will give a lecture on our long-standing economic relations, while Dr. Juan Jose Ramirez will share with us his view on a new agenda towards closer relations of the two countries. On behalf of the Foreign Ministry, let me express my appreciation to the two professors for sharing their views with us today, and of course a warm welcome to Thailand. Finally, I would like to express my profound thanks and deep appreciation to the Institute of Thaistudies,ฬาลงกรณ์ University, for its generous cooperation in co-hosting this event. On that note, that we wish these inaugural lectures today every success, and that it will overcome the barriers of distance, languages, and cultures, and bring us even closer today and many years to come. Thank you very much.
May I invite Mr. Warren to present souvenirs to our speakers? Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Ramirez, please. And Dr. Siddhishai for group photo. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to take a few minutes to brief you all about today's program. Today's lecture will be in two sessions. We will start with a lecture on Mexico and Thailand, a brief summary on their economic relations by Dr. Juan Gonzalez Garcia. After the lecture, we will have a 15-minute break. Refreshments will be served in the room 205 across the hall. At around 3, we will then come back here for the second lecture on Mexico and Thailand towards a new agenda for closer relations. Before we start, allow me to introduce you briefly about our first speaker. He has published close to 70 research articles. He was also director of the Faculty of Economics at the University of Colima from the year 2004 to 2008. And he was president of the Research Academy from the year 2000 to 2004. Ladies and gentlemen, the lecture begins. Please, Dr. Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, students, governor, dean, ambassador. Before I start my talk, I would like to thank the Thai ambassador to Mexico, Mr. Sobal Chirapan and Ms. Ganamon Selanaron, for inviting me to visit this wonderful country and give this special lecture about the economic relation between Mexico and Thailand. The content of this lecture is the following. 9 points are developed President of Mexico-Thailand relation, commercial diversification policy in each country, free trade agreements of each country, commercial balance derived from its strategy, bilateral commercial balance, main trade products and sectors, Thailand, leading interest in the relation, mutual investment, and relation in perspective, the business point finish. Mexico association with Asia date from the 16th century, when Mexico was a Spain colony. At the time, it had relations with major countries in Asia Pacific, including Japan, China, South Korea, the Philippines, and Thailand. In this history, as independent nation, it is with Japan in 1888 and China in 1899. With which it will establish a diplomatic relation. In 1905, the first interaction with South Korea started with the arrival of the Korean migrants to Mexico. In the 20th century, Mexico strengthened its Commission around Asia Pacific, as it is in the century that a confirmed that expanded relations with these and other countries such as Japan in 1952, the Philippines 1953, Indonesia 1953, South Korea 1962, Malaysia 1974, Singapore 1975, Vietnam 1975, and Thailand in 1975. In fact, on Tuesday, August 28, 1975, Mexico and Thailand established diplomatic relations, and from then on, they developed economic relations. In 1978, Thailand established its embassy in Mexico. Mexico, on this part, opened in 1983 an honorary consulate in Thailand. And in 1989, it opened its embassy. At the present time, Thailand has an honorary consulate in Monterrey, Nuevo León. In these 36 years, both countries have made major changes within their political and economic system so as to be updated where the phenomenon of economic globalization requires both countries, in addition to strengthening their diplomatic relations, to implement models, policies, strategies, and actions that allow them to be competitive and successful in national and international markets. From the economic point of view, the fact that both countries belong to the so-called region of the Pacific Basin has allowed them to expand the economic relation we have grown from virtually nothing in 1975 to $2.596.3 billion in 2010. According to facts from Mexico's Department of Economy, it means that the tremendous growth of international trade between both countries, though significant, represents less than 1% of total foreign trade of both countries. In 2011, it will be 23 years since Mexico expressed its interest in having formal deals with the Pacific Basin region by means of the announcement that it was created the Mexican Commission of the Pacific Basin on Friday, April 15 of 1988. After the initial years of momentum generated by the next model of economic development that promote export, which began in 1983 and with excessive emphasis on the trade diversification, with its accession to GATT and after managing to become a member of the major economic and cooperation organization of the Pacific Basin, Mexico opened more consultates in major countries including Japan, China, and Korea. It also opened consulates in countries of lesser importance and embassies in those which showed potential, such as Thailand, where Mexico opened its embassy in 1989, 1 year after the so-called conquest of the Asian markets, while, on the other hand, it strengthened its strategic relation with the United States and Canada through the implementation of the Free Trade Agreement in 1994. With the strategy of international trade policy combined with the international trade policy, which unilaterally reduced its tax structure and labels, at the time Mexico presented itself as the most advanced younger developing country promoting free trade. Obviously, this was because previously it had already adjusted its tax structure and label to this established by GATT and the little more. In the late 1980s, Mexico already had a low tax label, thus rendering it incapable to establish a trade and/or industrial policy that uses traditional instruments to support a strategic sector of the economy. With this policy, Mexico became an interdeveloping country that seeks more free trade agreement in the world, expecting its exporters to take advantage of the potential opportunity for the trade negotiation. Thus, between 1992 and 2005, Mexico launched 12 free trade agreements with 42 countries for several continents, with the aim of diversifying its markets, making its export base more competitive and actively participation in the new international trade flows of goods and services. With regard to the Asia-Pacific or Asian region, emphasis should be placed on the 18th membership in 1993, which allowed the expanded trade deals with China, Korea, and Japan, primarily and to a lesser extent with the new industrialized countries, NICS, and the countries of the Association of the Southeast Asian Nation, ASEAN. The accession in the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, AP, was seen as a great opportunity to participate in major economic negotiations in the region, benefiting the liberation of the economies of the member countries. In fact, for many ethnic economies, the informal agreement of cooperation and economic integration result in a competitive edge thus enabled them to strengthen their exporter dynamics and generate better economic and social conditions with their countries. In regard to Thailand, as well as Mexico, it sought to join the world markets as a possible solution to its structural economic problems and its current account, which had been traditionally in deficit ever since it changed its business relations with the world and management to enter the World Trade Organization (WTO) on January 1995. In fact, according to data available from 1979 and up to the late 1990s, the trade balance with the outside world was in deficit and was on the causes of the financial crisis of 1997-98. Then, after the WTO accession, Thailand, as well as Mexico, implemented an international trade policy aiming the liberalization and diversification to foreign markets, initially through its participation in Asian, but subsequently through the bilateral negotiation and conduct with some of its main trade partners. However, its WTO membership of the crisis in 1997 ultimately led into the creating its global strategy, aiming at reviewing international trade flows. Both events sparked the beginning of a structural economic transformation and its foreign trade, which had been around years before, with a view to join the international market successfully and transforming its current account deficit thanks to the pro-free trade policies that we begin to implement. Thanks to this transformation, after decades of trade deficit with the outside world in the late 1990s, not only does Thailand managed to change the ways of the trade patterns, once dominated by essential goods, by manufactured goods and services, but also to change to see of this trade balance with the outside world, except for 2005 and 2009, since 1998, it has reported as surplus. In terms of cumulative periods, it has managed to reduce its deficit to minus $3.4 billion, considering the 1979-2010 period. Therefore, it is no coincidence that since 1998, the transformation of the current account structure resulted in the accumulation of the surplus of $74.5 billion between 1998 and 2010. Mexico, however, with a already articulated strategy aimed to controlling foreign markets and ensuring trade diversification, has failed to be as successful as Thailand, since the results show a historic deficit of minus $331.5 billion between 1983 and 2010, with an annual deficit of about minus $1.3 billion. The crisis of the modern worsened in the past 2 decades, when such deficit has reached a cumulative total of minus $353.954 billion between 1993 and 2002, with an average annual deficit of minus $20.8 billion. With regard to the bilateral relation, after the two countries established diplomatic relations in 1975, they showed little interest in advancing economic relations and trade. Practically, throughout the 1980s, trade was only emerging since the global zoom is that decade research the outcome of $199.6 million with a positive balance for Mexico of 131.5 million and 5-to-1 ratio in favor of Mexico. The year 1987 was the best year of the relation with a balance in favor of Mexico in the amount of $46.051 million. It was precisely in 1987 when they decided to expand the relation. Yukon agreed to grant to Mexico-Thailand Businessman Committee of Minsk the Memorandum of Understanding between the Mexican Business Council for International Affairs (SEMAI) and the Undersecretary of Foreign Affairs of Thailand. Also, in 1990, the cooperation agreement between the Confederation of Chambers of Commerce of Thailand and the Mexican Business Council of Foreign Trade for Investment and Technology Council was signed as well as the cooperation agreement between the Industrial Confederation of Thailand and the Mexican Business Council of Foreign Trade for Investment and Technology Council in October 2003. From a political standpoint, was until 1992 that Thailand took the initiative to strengthen its relation with Mexico. In that year, Princess Galiani Pratana Prabhulan Naratiwa Rahanayagarinda made the first official visit to Mexico. This first courtesy was reciprocated by Mexico the following years with the visit of Javier Manuel Valero, the Subsecretary of Foreign Affairs. Since then, Thailand has shown more interest than Mexico in establishing links to the extent that 24 official visits were reported between 1992 and 2010 in comparison to 12 by Mexico between 1993 and 2006. As we can see, Thailand is the one that has put more emphasis on bilateral relations, both political and economical. Therefore, it could be said that this lack of interest shown by Mexico could explain the trade deficit with that country. Indeed, this can be evidenced when analyzing the evolution of bilateral relations between both countries, which are determined at first of the new international trade rules post-GATT and bilateral free trade agreements which have enabled the stronger relations with other countries. First, most economic things have resulted from the way in which both countries have joined the large trade flows of goods and services in the world. It may have been easier for Thailand to join these flows because it belongs to the Asian region of the Pacific, which led the Japan in the 1960s and together with the next in the 1970s resulted in Thailand entering the International Division of Labor and the transfer of the less capital-intensive production process. Helped by regional external environment, Thailand's infrastructure has economic development model thus targeting international markets via the export of agro-industrial products and manufactured goods. Resulting from the economic relation, trade between both countries arising from an average of $20 million annually in the 1980s to more than 2.5 billion per year. Obviously, the later figure is explained by the facts that from the 1990s, Thailand put more emphasis in the relation, a characteristic of the trade between both countries. Since then, the balances and deficit for Mexico at a ratio of 17 to 1, according to data from the Department of Economy. It is precisely after the economic crisis in Mexico in 1994-95 and the crisis in Thailand in 1997-98 when the deficit worsened and tends to become chronic. The first decade the last century show the field profile how important trade with Mexico is for Thailand. Therefore, it will be necessary to closely monitor the evolution of the balance because if we continue to be like that Mexico will expect to reverse a more balanced kind of trade way. Thailand and openness in the area showing a competitive edge, otherwise Mexico would be expected to hinder imports from that country. Moreover, taking into account the foreign trade statistics of Thailand, the trade relation between both countries have been in deficit for Thailand during the late 1990s and only after the outbreak of the 1997 crisis, the relation began to report a surplus. What is interesting about the relation is that the bilateral trade figure reported by both countries are divergent, while for the Bank of Thailand and the Ministry of Foreign Trade, the trade relation is positive only in recent years at the rate of 3-1 in 2010 and not 70-1, has the case in the weekend figures from the Mexican Department of Economy. It is more analyzing this statistical discrepancy so that both countries standardizing their data collection system. Since there is the risk of having a distorted view of the information and generating future trade problems, unless the issues is looked into. If a commission is created, such problem will be doubtless avoided and created certainly will be given to the bilateral relations. With the statistics from the Bank Center of Thailand, now since 1998, the country began to reverse the negative shift of this trade relation with Mexico until a trade surplus is reported to all things has not changed. On that country, the surplus has become stronger, which somehow show the result of the greater interest of this country in the relation with Mexico and show Mexico partial lack of interest in Thailand. In past decades, the basis of the exchange have been dominated by agriculture and low capital intensive goods. However, in recent years, manufacturing and technological goods appeared. Mexico has imported for Thailand the following: rice, canned seafood, garments, textile, footwear, rubber, jewelry, automobiles, auto parts, computer, and the parts, electrical equipment, and parts. Thailand has imported from Mexico the following machinery and electrical parts, automobiles, electronic circuit, chemical, oil, iron, and steel. The following chart provides the concentrated percentage of the main goods trade in both countries in 2008 and 2009. Considering 2009, we see that the amounts of Mexico import from the Kingdom of Thailand is still concentrated in manufactured goods and goods from the automotive industry and auto parts, computer, electronics, and electrical circuit. It's also seen how the concentration was more pronounced in 1 year only, rising from 44.3% in 2008 to 51.1% in 2009. Regarding investment, there really has been little interest from both countries. It is known that in 2001, Cementos Mexicanos Cemex acquired 99% of economic interest of Saraguri Cement Company, now Cemex Thailand, in the amount close to $80 million, and that such investment has increased with the alignment of the plan to receive $85 million. In regard to the investment in Mexico from Thailand between January 1994 and September 2000, companies with Thai capital invest $70.1 million, 97% of FDI from Thailand was allocated to the manufacturing sector and 3% to the agricultural sector. Of the 7 Thai companies located in Mexico, 2 were regarded in the agricultural sector, 2 in the manufacturing sector. One makes plastic goods and the others manufacture and then several machinery and equipment for general use. 2 in the commercial sector, one is giant in the business of non-food products and the other only in the business of beverage and tobacco. And finally, another company engaged in financial service. In terms of amounts, 1996 report the highest investment of the decade, which $167 million. 2000 report an investment of $100,000. In 2001, there was a disinvestment of minus $100,000 in the fisheries industry, which used to operate in the state of Chiapas, probably related to aquaculture. In March 2009, the Bayan train began operation of the Bayacoba Hotel in the Riviera Maya with an investment of $100 million. And in April 2010, it opened the Bayan Cabo Marquez in Acapulco with an investment of $180 million. The chain plans to expand and put in 2013 the Bayan Tree Monteshani Hotel in BCS and the Bayan Tree Chemala in Jalisco. There are future plans to invest in Veracruz, Tamaulipas, and Nuevo León. Status quo and perspective of the relation. Afterward, we briefly discussed the evolution of the trade and economic investment relation between Mexico and Thailand since the establishment of the diplomatic relation. We will suggest the urgent need for Mexico to give due importance to the Thai economy, which is growing dynamically, notwithstanding the internal political problems of the recent years and recent and external economic effects deriving from the orientation of this export model to the regional and global crisis of the last 2 decades. So far, Mexico, even though it expressed interest in establishing close links with the countries of Asia Pacific more than 20 years ago and again recently, it has been unable to fulfill that desire. That has not happened in Thailand, a country that, with intentions similar to those of Mexico, enacted a successful insertion in the large flow of international trade and investment, is certainly reporting positive results deriving from such international insertion, including the bilateral relation. This is reflected in the balance of the relation both from the political and the economic point of view. While it is true that in Mexico, Thailand represents less than 1% of its foreign trade and investment, it is clear that Thailand is taking the relation more seriously, and this also shown by the bilateral balance. Based on what has been described and analyzed herein, it can be said that Mexico should retain its relation with Thailand because the current state of the relation does not favor Mexico at all. This is seen how in the last decade in particular, the condition for truly expanding relations have been created in Thailand is doing its part. Therefore, no one should be surprised to see that Mexico appears balanced will not only be maintained, but also may be extended if action is not taken promptly, as the trend is very clear in this regard. Regardless of Mexico rethinking its interest in Thailand, it is a desire that both countries seek a more balanced relation, and this could happen by making or an interaction aimed at modernizing their bilateral accounts, as the difference of their accounting system reported by the records of their mutual trade is apparent. Regardless of the fact that because of the intensification of the production process and the internationalization, it is become more difficult to find the local content of international trade due to the international segmentation of the production process, design, research, manufacturing, logistics, marketing, etc., etc. Thailand is increasingly making its presence here now in the international arena in comparison to Mexico. Considering that according to the WTO figures in 2009, it's accounted for 1.22% the world export, and this around 25 in the export and has imported in the world, while Mexico, after having failed to account for 2.7% of the world trade in 2002, in 2009 it fell to 2.1%. They ranked 50 has exported and 70 has imported in the world. I finish this paper with the following revelation. Based on the comparison with Mexico's Thailand's international trade is performing better a result of a model and a strategy which had to go through a painful process of a structural transformation which was not easy, but has been successful in the medium term. Mexico was now understanding the Thai experience, since it is a country that set its values, will become an important player in the international arena. In the plans to act now is not only new, but was both in the international arena and above all at the national level. Thank you.
For your informative lecture. I'm happy to announce that we will now have a 15-minute break. Please proceed to the room 205, just across the hall for refreshments, And please return to this room at 3 p.m. for our second lecture. Don't leave us yet. Okay, would you like to cross the hall and walk all the way?
ส่งสื่อมวลชนไปทำเอานี้ขึ้นมารณรงค์ National Campaign ทีมันจะเป็นตัวอย่างกรณีของจริงตอนนี้โฆษณาพยายามทำนะเช่นนะบริษัทอะไรเอาลูกชายมาโฆษณาเองเลยนะหรือผู้อำนวยการมาเลยนะเราดูแลคุณด้วยคือของจริงอ่ะของจริงนะคะก็เนี่ยคล้ายๆประเด็นแบบนี้ค่ะแต่อันนั้นเป็นประเด็นโฆษณาทางธุรกิจโฆษณาทางสังคมก็ทำแบบนี้ได้ก็เลยทฤษฎีคลื่นสั่นกันรอบเพราะว่าถ้าไม่มี local campaign ถ้าไม่มี local apparatus อย่างเช่นเรื่องการตรวจจับแอลกอฮอล์คุณจะมีตำรวจแต่เฉพาะถนนใหญ่ๆแต่เป็นถนนเล็กๆเข้าซอยนี่ไม่มีนะเพราะนั้นต้องมีกลุ่มที่อยู่ตรง local ที่คอยช่วยดูเป็นคนไกลนะแต่นี้ถ้าเป็นคนไกลเนี่ยมันก็มาจัดกระจายได้ผลเป็นเฉพาะที่เราจะทำไงจะขยายผลให้คนส่วนใหญ่รู้เอาสื่อมวลชนเข้าไปกำกับทีนะคะตัวอย่าง3อย่างเนี้ยได้มาจากตัวอย่างวิจัยเรื่องโรคเอดส์ที่เชียงรายอันนี้เป็นตัวอย่างของไทยพ่อคนพบทฤษฎีของไทยนะเรื่องคือทฤษฎีสั่งรอ national local แล้วก็เป็น national อีกทีแต่จริงๆงานวิจัยด้านเว็บคอมเรานี่มีตัวโดยเฉพาะด้านเว็บคอมนะมีตัวอย่างดีๆที่ครูอ่านทฤษฎีพวกเว็บคอมที่ล้นแล้วก็เป็นข้อค้นพบใหม่ทางทฤษฎีเยอะแยะมากแต่ว่าเรายังไม่มีเวลาที่จะยกระดับมันขึ้นมาไปสู้กับโรเจอร์ลาสเบลอะไรนะแต่ในเฉพาะงานวิจัยเว็บคอมมันเจอข้อค้นพบดีๆเยอะมากเห็นว่าแล้วเราควบคุมน้อยนะตัวเล็กๆคนพบเจอก็มาเฉยๆนะเป็นตัวอย่างค่ะโอเคไหมนะสี่อันเนี่ยสำคัญที่สุดนะคะ4 อันที่สำคัญที่สุดใช้เวลาบ่มให้ดีๆนะวายดีๆต้องบ่มปลาร้าดีๆต้องหมักนะใช้เวลาบ่มให้ดีๆแล้วถ้าคุณได้ตรงนี้มาแล้วอย่างเช่นถ้าได้คอนเซ็ปต์เรื่องตัวนี้มาสบายมากนะวิเคราะห์ได้เลยนะวิเคราะห์นะคะขั้น6ขั้น7มันจะนี่กันเก็บข้อมูลก็ดูจากนิยามปฏิบัติการนิยามไม่ว่าอะไรเขียนตามนั้นแหละเลือกเฉพาะในตัวแปรเลือกเฉพาะสิ่งที่อยู่ในคอนเซ็ปต์เฟรมเวิร์คคือตัวแปรคือจังหวะในที่นี้นะคะปกติก็จะไม่ดูหนักมากเดี๋ยวแบ่งทีแล้ว
จอไปเขาวางไว้ให้เราแล้วเวรมือที่ช่างอะไรถ้าสนุนจะนี่จะได้ก็มาเป็นสึกบอกถึงเรื่องตัวอย่างบอกเห็นน้อยจะมาขยะเย็นประกาศใดก็ลงมาอุปชาประกาศอะไรก็ได้ไปขยายพิจารณาเขาวางไว้ให้แล้วเราก็เดินไปตามนั้นนะโดยปกติถ้าเป็นแบบโบราณทีท่านไม่วักเลยท่านวักของท่านตามเรื่องแบบมหาชาติตำรวจท่านก็ไม่วักให้เราบางทีเราไม่รู้คำพันธ์ชนิดไหนก็อาจจะยากหน่อยแต่พูดถึงว่าโดยปกติแล้วนี่ก็มันคือเดินแล้วอาจจะมีขึ้นถ้าแต่ขึ้นแล้วต้องลงถ้าสมมติว่ามันกดเป็น4เนี่ยมันจะ1 2เดิน3ขึ้น4ลงแบบเมื่อกี้เนี่ยแบบลักษณะสมมติว่าโบราณการมาถัดที่รัฐเรียกบาทที่3ข้าวทรงนามอภิไทยชาติสัตว์รู้ว่าต้องลงมาถ้าเกิดมันเป็น4จะต้องให้ลงเหมือนโครงก็เหมือนกันบาทสุดท้ายก็ต้องลงบาทที่3ขึ้นบาทที่4ก็ลงเนี่ยไม่ได้มีอะไรพิสดารไม่ได้ต้องจำคำรองแบบนี้เองถ้ากรอนมันก็แปลมันเรียบมันมีขึ้นมีลงมันอยู่ในช่วง
ศูนย์ภาษาไทยสิรินทรนะคะก็ต้องขอกราบขอบพระคุณนะคะท่านคณบดีเป็นอย่างสูงค่ะที่ให้เกียรติเป็นวิทยากรในวันนี้นะคะขอกราบขอบพระคุณค่ะต่อไปนะ
ทำใจให้สบายนะเราว่าเวลาอ่านก็คืออ่านไม่ใช่รอถ้ารอแล้วก็ต้องตกใจนิดหน่อย
ค่ะเดี๋ยวเราจะกลับมาฟังการสาธิตการอ่านทำนองสนอในช่วงบ่ายนะคะลำดับต่อไปค่ะเชิญทุกท่านนะคะรับหนังสือสำ
last one can produce clear, well-structured, detailed text on complex subjects.
Yeah. Yes. So this is really interesting, especially in C1, the first sentence. So demanding and implicit meaning. So meaning that isn't directly stated, it's only inferred or suggested. Now when you get to C1 as well, interesting things are, in the third line, can use language flexibly for social, academic and professional purposes. So when people get to this level, if they're talking to the bus driver, they can talk in bus driver language. If they're talking to an IT specialist, they can talk to an IT specialist. If they're talking at an academic level, they can do that. They have flexible language. It's at this level where we change from being controlled by what we know in a language to being the controller. We know we can decide and we can choose what to say. Interesting at the end as well that we have a control of organizational patterns, connectors, cohesive devices. So any long piece of either spoken or written language will be effectively linked and connected. So it would be a good example of discourse management. And C2. We will start with understand everything and summarize different information, and carry constructive arguments in a coherent presentation and express precisely, fluently and precisely, and differentiating by the shades of meaning in complex language. Yes, fantastic. This is great, isn't it? Can understand with ease virtually everything. Brilliant. The last two lines are very important, differentiating finer shades of meaning. So people are able to appreciate and produce nuance in what they say, the finer shades, even in complex situations. So this is a very, very good page for having an overview of the different levels and what those levels begin to mean. It's a great time, everybody seems to be. Everybody seems to be into the cakes.
We have 5 minutes. 5 minutes relaxation time, drinking tea and chatting. Yes, thank you.
don't know how many hours to put in the syllabus for the learners for them to reach their level. Now, I pulled out some examples of can-do statements for different levels and different skills. So first of all, we've got an example of B2 level speaking. And this is going into a more detailed description of what the speaker can do. So the first point, this speaker can have an extended conversation, but the topic must be general, but they will take part, they're definitely taking part, and can do this even in a noisy environment. Now, as you know, when you're learning a language, you have to concentrate a lot more when you're listening. And if there's any background noise, like even the air conditioning, it makes it harder for the listener to be able to listen and hear. So that's why it says here, even in a noisy environment. So if you're in a restaurant with lots of people chatting, you could still take part. Second point, they can sustain relationships with native speakers without unintentionally amusing or irritating them. It's a very interesting thing, isn't it, to put it there? Now this happens, and I'm sure there must be lots and lots of examples in the Thai language, but for example, in English, before, I mentioned I'd like. Now for an English speaker of English, and I mean so not Australian, New Zealand, South African, Singapore, and anything else. For me, if I hear somebody saying I want instead of I'd like, it sounds rude. And this is what this means. So if you are learning a language at a basic level, often you just learn the subject and the verb, I want a cup of water, and you say it like that. But for a native speaker, it's unintentional, but it sounds rude. So when I hear this, it makes me shiver. And then I have to think, who is speaking? And then when I realize it's a sort of more basic level speaker, I know it's a language problem, not a personality problem. And it's very interesting because in different languages, you can say things in different ways. When we go into a shop in England, we say, I'd like, whatever it is, a bottle of water. But in Italian, if you translate directly from Italian, when they go into a shop, they say, give me. And for me, that sounds very, very rude. Give me. It's like I want. I want. It's terribly aggressive, it sounds to me. And this is the terrible situation of being a beginner in a language. You don't realize that sometimes what you're saying has an effect on the speaker. So this is why you've got it without being unintentionally amusing. It might be funny, or it might be irritating. And also at B2 level, the last one, can convey degrees of emotion.